The hiss comes first, a low, constant static, the sound of empty air on a naval frequency. It is the morning of May 27, 1941. In a German naval communications room in Berlin, operators sit at their sets, their hands still, their headphones on. A clock on the wall, the narrow geometry of instrument panels. Outside, early morning light is coming up over the city. They are listening for something that is no longer there. The last signal had arrived hours before. 43 words in German naval cipher, transmitted from a point in the North Atlantic, roughly 300 miles west of the French coast. The message said, "Torpedo hit aft. Ship unmaneuverable. We fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer." After that, nothing. They know what the silence means. The answer to what the Admirals said when their most powerful ship stopped responding is not in this room and not in this moment. It lies 9 days earlier in the cold grey water of the Baltic, where the bow of a ship first broke from Gotenhafen harbor and turned toward the open sea. The Admirals had already spoken before she sailed. What they said then is what made the silence possible. By the spring of 1941, Germany has conquered most of Western Europe and has failed to force Britain out of the war. The island survives on its convoys, dozens of ships every month crossing the Atlantic with food, fuel, and war material. Grand Admiral Erich Raeder, Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine, has spent years arguing that the way to break Britain is not through the air and not through the submarine, but through the surface fleet. The U-boats are doing damage, but U-boats are invisible. A capital ship is a statement. Send a battleship into the Atlantic supply lanes, and the British must respond, must pull warships from other theaters, must slow their convoys, must feel the weight of a predator loose in their most vital ocean. The surface radar does not just sink ships, it forces the enemy to reconfigure everything around the possibility that it might. That is what a submarine cannot do. That is what only a battleship can. The Bismarck is his argument made in steel. She is 823 feet long. She displaces roughly 50,000 tons at full load. She carries 8 primary guns arranged in 4 turrets, capable of putting a shell 25 kilometers. She's armored to resist almost anything afloat and capable of speeds above 30 knots. She carries a crew of over 2,200 men, officers, engineers, ratings, surgeons, a chaplain, a band. She is, by every measure Germany can apply to the question, the finest warship in the world. Hitler himself, visiting at Gotenhafen on May 5th, 2 weeks before she sails, stands at her gangway in the Baltic spring light. He loves her not as a weapon, but as a declaration, proof that Germany had returned, that it could build what Britain could not match, that the humiliations of Versailles were finished. She is the argument, and he is its patron. She stands at the pier, and he has photographs taken. She sails on May 18th. Fleet Commander Admiral Günther Lutyens is 51 years old when he boards her. He will turn 52 exactly 7 days into the voyage. His face in photographs is long and angular, the mouth set downward, the eyes giving nothing away. Hard, exacting, seldom given to explanation, his record is exceptional. Earlier in 1941, he commanded Operation Berlin, the battle cruisers Scharnhorst and Gneisenau ranging through the Atlantic for 10 weeks, covering 18,000 miles, sinking or capturing 22 Allied merchant ships. He brought both ships home. In the Kriegsmarine, there may be no one better suited to take the Bismarck into the Atlantic. He argues to delay. The force assigned to Operation Rheinübung, Rhine exercise, was originally to have included 4 capital ships, the Bismarck and her sister, the Tirpitz, the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. What Lutyens is actually sailing with is 2, Bismarck and the heavy cruiser, Prinz Eugen. The Tirpitz, not yet fully worked up, stays behind. The others are grounded by mechanical failure and battle damage. Lutyens argues that the reduced force is insufficient, that the operational window is wrong, the risks too high without the full group. Radar, eager, with Hitler expectant and watching, overrules him. The operation will proceed with what is available. Before he leaves Berlin for the last time, Lutyens visits a colleague at Radar's headquarters. He does not make a speech. He does not dramatize. He simply tells the man in a matter-of-fact voice, "I'll never come back." It is not depression. It is arithmetic, a reduced force operating in an ocean controlled by a numerically superior enemy without adequate air cover, heading into an Atlantic where one lucky hit could make all of his gunnery irrelevant. He sees the calculation clearly. He goes anyway. Duty is not conditional on outcome, not for Lutyens. He has spent 30 years in service because he believes in service, not because he believes in survival. He boards the ship. He does his job. Everything that follows will happen in the shadow of that flat, certain goodbye. The Bismarck and Prince Eugen clear Gotenhafen on May 18th and move north through Norwegian waters under cloud cover they cannot fully trust. On May 20th, the Swedish cruiser Gotland observes the German force passing through the Kattegat. The Swedish naval attaché in Stockholm notifies his British counterpart. British naval intelligence has the warning by the end of the day. The window of invisibility has already closed, and the ship has barely left the Baltic. Admiral John Tovey, commanding the British home fleet from Scapa Flow, begins moving his ships. The battle cruiser Hood, the pride of the Royal Navy, the largest warship in the world for the better part of 2 decades, and the new battleship Prince of Wales sail to intercept. Heavy cruisers Suffolk and Norfolk take up station in the Denmark Strait between Iceland and Greenland, watching for the German force with their radar sets. They are waiting. The question is only where the Bismarck will appear, not whether. The morning of May 24th, the Denmark Strait, grey and cold, low cloud. Water temperature, roughly 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. At 5:52, the British ships open fire. The engagement lasts 8 minutes. The Hood is struck by a shell from the Bismarck's 5th salvo. It penetrates the battlecruiser's afterdeck and reaches the ammunition magazine. What follows is not an explosion in any ordinary sense. It is the detonation of a warship from inside, a black and orange fireball visible for miles. The ship's bow and stern rise, and then they plunge. The sea closes over her in seconds. Of Hood's 1,418 crew, 3 survive. The gunnery officer responsible for the ranging solutions that put that shell on target is Korvettenkapitän Adalbert Schneider. Within hours of the sinking, a signal from Berlin awards him the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. He has 3 days to live. The Bismarck is damaged. The engagement that destroyed the Hood has breached her forward fuel tanks and flooded at least 1 boiler room. Lutyens sets course for Brest on the French Atlantic coast for repairs. Then, a fork in the road. Captain Lindemann, the Bismarck's commanding officer, has watched the Prince of Wales take hits during the action. She is damaged, withdrawing, within reach. Lindemann reportedly urges Lutyens to pursue her, to destroy her while she is vulnerable, to complete what the Denmark Strait began. One more capital ship at the bottom of the Atlantic, a decisive victory, not a partial one. Lutyens refuses. His operational orders direct him to avoid prolonged fleet engagements. The commerce raiding mission requires the ship intact and moving. He is following his instructions with the precision that has defined 30 years of service. The Prince of Wales withdraws, damaged but alive. The Bismarck turns for France. It is the last decision point that might have changed what follows. Every catastrophe that comes traces a line back to this moment in the grey water of the Denmark Strait, when one door was considered and left unopened. Early on May 25th, the British lose the Bismarck entirely. The pursuit has been continuous since the Denmark Strait, the cruisers Suffolk and Norfolk holding contact through the darkness, tracking on radar, broadcasting her position. But overnight, the contact breaks. The Bismarck slips away. The British search forces, calculating that she might be heading north toward Norway, turn northeast. They are going the wrong direction. The Bismarck is heading southeast toward France, and the gap between the two forces is opening with every knot. Lutyens is free. In all practical terms, he has escaped. France is 2 days sailing ahead. The damage is serious, but not fatal. If he reaches Brest, the Bismarck lives. Later, on May 25th, Lutyens reaches for the radio. He transmits a coded message to Berlin. The signal runs for approximately 45 minutes, an extraordinarily long broadcast at a moment when radio silence is the single most important discipline a hunted ship can maintain. He transmits because he believes the British already have him. The Suffolk's radar, he has concluded, is so capable that he cannot have slipped away undetected. He has been comparing his calculated position against the flow of British signals, and his conclusion is that he remains tracked. Transmitting costs him nothing, he believes, because the risk, as he understands it, does not exist. He is wrong. Completely, catastrophically wrong. The British radio direction finders catch the transmission the moment it begins. The initial position fix is misplotted, briefly pointing the pursuing forces in the wrong direction, offering still more margin, still more of the escape Lutyens cannot see he has. But then an RAF Catalina flying boat, searching in the south, finds the Bismarck on the morning of May 26th. Not by radar, because a German admiral, certain he was already discovered, told the Atlantic exactly where he was. The ship was free. The ocean is large enough. 2 days to France. The most powerful gun platform in the German fleet, repaired, rearmed, ready to sail again. That was the possibility that existed in the dark of May 25, 1941. The window the British had lost. Lutyens opened again himself. May 26th, late evening. The carrier Ark Royal is somewhere in the grey Atlantic, flying off her aircraft. The Fairy Swordfish is a fabric-covered biplane. It entered service in the mid-1930s. By 1941, it is already obsolete, an aircraft design that belongs in every visible sense to the previous war. Open cockpit, fixed undercarriage, maximum attack speed roughly 90 miles per hour. The Bismarck's anti-aircraft crews, calibrated for faster targets, will find it nearly impossible to track efficiently at close range. Their guns will overshoot. Repeatedly, 15 Swordfish lift off in atrocious weather, heavy swells, low cloud, force 4 to 5 winds. They find the Bismarck in the failing light and make their runs. Most torpedoes miss or strike armored sections and fail, but one runs true to the stern. It detonates against the rudder compartments, not the heavily armored main belt, but the stern, where the protection is thinner. The Bismarck's twin rudders jam hard, 12 degrees to port. Engineering crews enter the flooded steering compartments in freezing water, fighting to free them by hand. The sea will not cooperate. The rudders will not move. The Bismarck begins to circle, a ship designed to hunt convoys across 3,000 miles of open ocean, 8 primary guns, 50,000 tons. She can point her weapons in any direction she chooses. She cannot steer. She turns in a slow, helpless arc, unable to head for France, unable to run, unable to do anything except face whatever the morning brings. The most powerful naval gun platform afloat, crippled by an aircraft that looked like it belonged to a museum. At approximately 21:40, Lutyens transmits for the last time. The message goes to Group West and to the Oberkommando der Marine in Berlin, in German naval cipher, in the record as it exists today. Torpedotreffer achte raus. Schiff manövrierunfähig. Wir kämpfen bis zur letzten Granate. Es lebe der Führer. Torpedo hit oft. Ship unmaneuverable. We fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer. When that signal arrives in Berlin, German naval headquarters understands it completely. There is no ambiguity in those 43 words. The ship will circle in the dark Atlantic through the night, under destroyer attacks she cannot evade, waiting for dawn and the battleships. May 27th. Dawn. The Atlantic, approximately 300 miles west of Brest. The Bismarck has been circling for hours. The night has cost her men. Destroyer attacks coming out of the darkness, torpedo runs she cannot maneuver away from. Her crew has not slept. They have spent the night trying by every means available to free the rudders. The rudders have not moved. At 8:47, HMS King George V and HMS Rodney sight the Bismarck and open fire. Despite everything, the jammed rudders, the long night, the damage accumulated since the Denmark Strait, the Bismarck's gunners answer. Her first salvos fall close to Rodney. Neither British ship is hit. The armament that sank the Hood in 8 minutes is still working, still fighting, even as the ship beneath it is failing. The exchange lasts 45 minutes. On this same morning, British Signals Intelligence is reading a message decoded from German naval cipher. A personal telegram from Adolf Hitler to the Bismarck, sent the previous night in the knowledge that she was circling and could not escape. A congratulation. The decrypt will be catalogued in the UK National Archives as DEFE 3/2. Britain knows what Germany is saying to its last great battleship as she dies. They read the Führer's private words before the ship finishes sinking. By 9:31, the Bismarck's guns have gone silent. By 10:15, she is a burning wreck. The heavy cruiser Dorsetshire delivers the final torpedoes. At 10:40, the Bismarck capsizes and goes under. Of 2,200 men who sailed from Gotenhafen 9 days earlier, 110 are pulled from the water by British ships before the rescue stops. A reported U-boat sighting ends it. The sighting proves false. Hundreds of men are still visible in the water, alive, waving, when the ships turn away. The water is 13 degrees Celsius. Without survival suits, which almost none of them have, the time available is measured in minutes. A German submarine and a weather ship find 5 more. The Spanish heavy cruiser Canarias sails from El Ferrol, hoping to reach survivors. She arrives too late and finds 2 bodies floating in the swells. Adalbert Schneider, the gunnery officer awarded the Knight's Cross for sinking the Hood on May 24th, dies with the ship on May 27th. Whether the physical decoration ever reached him is not known. Captain Lindemann is last seen standing on the bow as she goes under. He does not leave his ship. His body is never recovered. The communications room in Berlin has been quiet since the night before. The operators know. They have known since the last signal arrived. The silence is not a mystery. It is a confirmation. Grand Admiral Raeder orders the search for survivors terminated at dusk. No further successful rescue reports have been received. The order is clean, administrative, and final. It is the last official act of Operation Rheinübung. The following morning, the newspapers carry the news. The May 28th issue of the Dresdner Neueste Nachrichten renders the event in the language the regime has chosen for catastrophes it cannot afford to name directly. The German battleship Bismarck has tranquilly sunk after an unequal battle. Tranquilly sunk. The German people are told that their thoughts should be full of pride and sorrow toward the victorious fleet commander, Admiral Lütjens, and toward the battleship Bismarck, her commander, Captain Lindemann, and their brave crew. More than 2,000 men are in the North Atlantic. There are 10 days between the sinking and the formal reckoning. 10 days in which Raeder constructs his account, in which the German naval staff processes what happened and prepares to explain it to a man who will not want explanations. Those 10 days are not silence. They are the sound of institutional machinery working at speed, deciding what can be said and what cannot. On June 6, 1941, Raeder travels to Hitler's mountain retreat at the Berghof and makes his report. Hitler has questions. Why didn't Lutyens return to a German-controlled port after the Hood engagement? Raeder replies that breaking north through the British patrols at that moment would have been more dangerous than withdrawing into the Atlantic. The answer is correct. Hitler presses further. Why didn't the Bismarck use her superior guns to pursue and destroy the Prince of Wales while the British ship was damaged? Even if the Bismarck was lost in that action, Hitler argues, the British would have lost 2 capital ships. Raeder admits it. Seen in retrospect, he says, defeating the Prince of Wales would have been the greater military victory. But Lutyens was following his operational orders, which explicitly directed him to avoid prolonged fleet engagements. The commerce raiding mission required the ship intact. Those were Raeder's orders. Lutyens followed them exactly. Hitler declares the surface fleet a waste of time, money, and manpower. He calls it utterly useless. 2 weeks earlier, he had stood on that ship's deck for photographs, had called it the pride of his navy. Now the Bismarck is 300 meters down in the Atlantic, and a Grand Admiral is sitting across from him, explaining the operational logic of her last decisions. Raeder overruled Lutyens' request for delay. Raeder approved the operation with a reduced force. Raeder signed the orders that explicitly directed Lutyens away from prolonged fleet engagements. He is now defending those same orders to the man who is furious about their consequences. Raeder will hold his command until January 1943, when another surface fleet failure ends his tenure. He will stand trial at Nuremberg. He will be sentenced to life imprisonment. He will eventually be released. He will outlive Günther Lutyens by 29 years. After the Bismarck, the surviving capital ships of the Kriegsmarine retreat into Norwegian anchorages. The Tirpitz, the Bismarck's identical sister ship, the vessel that was supposed to sail with Lutyens and did not, is moved into the fjords. The Scharnhorst follows. They sit in the anchorages and are called a fleet in being. The strategy means too valuable to risk, too powerful to ignore. They pin down British naval resources by existing. They do not fight, they wait. The Scharnhorst is found and destroyed at the Battle of North Cape on December 26, 1943. She goes down fighting in the dark Arctic water. 2,000 men lost. The Tirpitz remains. She survives Midget submarine attacks, carrier airstrikes, everything the British can bring to reach her in the fjord. On November 12, 1944, 3.5 years after the Bismarck sank, RAF Lancaster bombers carried Tallboy bombs to Tromsø Fjord and released them from 18,000 feet into clear Norwegian autumn air. The Tirpitz capsizes. She sinks where she is moored, her guns pointing at the surrounding mountains. She has never fired her main guns at an enemy warship. Within a year of the Bismarck's sinking, 3 of the 4 British ships most directly involved in her destruction, Ark Royal, Prince of Wales, Dorsetshire, are themselves gone. The Prince of Wales goes down off Malaya in December 1941, sunk by Japanese aircraft. In the same week, the world the Bismarck sailed in ceases to exist. The surface raider era claimed ships on both sides, in oceans that covered half the earth, and it did not settle anything. Lutyens said goodbye before he boarded the ship. He had not been dramatizing. He saw the arithmetic clearly, said so, was overruled, and went anyway. He turned 52 on May 25th while being hunted across the Atlantic, and was dead by the morning of the 27th. The Bismarck's transmitters went silent on the morning of May 27th, 1941. The strategy they represented never spoke again.